Hello, so for my video presentation, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the trials and the life of Hercules, one of my favorite stories and one of my favorite Disney movies. Um, so Hercules had a very interesting start to his life as he was the son of Zeus, and his mother was Alcmene, who was actually the granddaughter of the great hero Perseus, who's the one that slayed the Gorgon and chopped off Medusa's head. So Hercules himself was actually kind of cursed at the start of his life. Zeus's wife Hera was extremely jealous of the baby because he was to inherit the Mycenaean kingdom, and she used her powers to prevent Hercules from doing so. When he was born, she sent two snakes to go and strangle the baby, but because he was so strong and brave, even as an infant, he ended up killing the snakes before they could kill him. And from there, Hera later in his life put a curse on him and made him kill his wife and his kids, which is very interesting, something you don't hear about in any of the generalized tales of Hercules. And upon doing so, thinking that he did this himself, Hercules sought Apollo and begged him to give him punishment for his crimes. From there, Apollo explained to Hercules that this was not him, that he was under the spell, but that he should still perform these 12 heroic labors of the Mycenaean king Eurystheus. I'm sure I butchered that horribly, in order to still make amends for what he did. And that once he did so, he would be absolved of his crimes and achieve immortality by living the rest of his days with the gods in Mount Olympus. The first one that he did was he slayed the Nemean lion in the hills that was terrorizing people. From there, he went off to slay the Hydra in Lenirin. And of course, the Hydra is a crazy, I would say, dragon snake monster that every time you chop off a head, another one grows back. From there, he went and he ensnared the giant boar, which was his fifth task. From there, his sixth task was she just traveled to the town and drove away a huge flock of carnivorous birds, which sounds terrifying. From there, he went on to Crete to capture a giant rampaging bull that was terrorizing the town, drove the bull back, and then released it into the streets for a marathon, which I believe is probably a start of where we get the running of the bulls in Spain, which is really interesting. I'll hark back to that. For his eighth challenge, he captured a man-eating horse, 4 man-eating horses, actually. And then brought them to the king, who decided that the horses should be set free, which is very interesting that you just captured these horses and then set them free. Another interesting thing is that there's 4 man-eating horses, which later in Christian religion we get, of course, the Book of Revelations, where there are the 4 horsemen, who essentially you can call are man-eating as well. His ninth labor was stealing Hippolyta's belt, and Hippolyta is the queen of the Amazons. And so at first she agreed to give it to him without a fight. However, Hera disguised herself as an Amazoness warrior, and then tried to kidnap the queen. So then the women attacked, and Hercules killed Hippolyta and then ripped the belt away from her. The 10th labor was to dispatch the cattle of the 3-headed, 6-legged monster Grayon. Hera, of course, tried to get in the way of this one again, and but of course Hercules prevailed. And then from there, it was the apples of Hesperides that Hercules went and tried to steal as a wedding gift. It's the set of golden apples, known to the nymphs. And then the final of his courses was to wrestle and capture Cerberus, which is the three-headed dog guarding the gates of the underworld. So Hercules did so, and then with that completed the 12 of those tasks. So Hercules went on to do many of other things later in his life, like saving the Princess of Troy. He was battled for control of Mount Olympus. But after he had done all of these things, he eventually did die. But upon his death, Athena carried him to Mount Olympus, where on her chariot, where he ascended with the gods and lived there eternally. Which is very interesting to show that he did not achieve immortality in the way that we think the gods have mortality, because he's still half mortal. He didn't essentially achieve full immortality like we think of it, but he did live eternally with the gods upon his death. So I think that was really cool. It kind of just differentiates, immortality. I mean, what is immortality? Is immortality with the body carrying on, or do we have immortality in a more ethereal state where the consciousness ascends and goes up and drinks wine and eats food with the gods? So that's Hercules. Pretty cool guy. Favorite movie. And thanks.